As long as it's not born on Christmas, because that's her birthday. Oh my gosh. He was my Christmas present. Oh my gosh.
I'll pay my dues if you got time to take it.
I sure do. I sure do.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Can I pay for the Christmas party too?
Sure. Did you happen to fill out another application?
Yeah. How you doing? Good. Good.
Did you fill one out online recently?
My memory's not like you. I may have already
Well, you know what? You can go ahead. I'll take your money and I'll bring you the application.
Place never put your name into the line across our property, so I've met with someone who knows something about what you're doing because of this may have been part of the
didn't have a way to say that.
Maybe that's what we're having that glitch.
phone calls are, sort of, actually. Yeah, everybody back?
Looks like it.
Everybody back?
Those are fun radios. You know, for as big as they are,
Okay.
they're really clunky for some people. The truth of the matter is you can work on those radios, you know.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to wait till after the presentation before I announce the winner of the election. I'll hold you in suspense for a little bit longer. You have to hold on, so you have to wait until the end. Okay, everybody happy? Good. Well, we're going to introduce Paul Trotter, who tonight is going to give us a talk on VHF operating and stuff in general, right?
Okay,
Is that right?
that's close enough.
Okay, cool. Welcome, Paul. Eric is listening at a distance over there.
Okay, well, thank you, and I'm glad to be here. A lot of you may not know, but this is sort of a homecoming for me, actually, in that I got my first license, novice license, which I guess has not existed for a long time now, but got that in the club room in the passed the test at the club room in the Red Cross building back in the 1970s. So this is when I was secretary of the club back in the early 1980s. So I do feel at home, even though a whole lot of you I don't know. So some of you may be familiar with my call sign, AA4ZZ, because not only do I use it on the air, but we have a group of folks who do VHF contests from the North Carolina mountains, and some of you may have talked to us. This is actually our antenna on 2-meter sideband, but we work a lot of folks. We can, during the contest in June and September and some other times, we can work folks in the Charlotte area, somebody running a handheld, because we're sort of like a mountaintop repeater almost. So we appreciate all those contacts. They're very important to us. We're competing largely against stations up in the Northeast, and they got a lot more people a lot closer to them because of the population density. So it sure helps. Thank you, any of you who have contacted us in one of those contests. We really appreciate it. And if you haven't, try, because people are amazed. We have talked to all sorts of people around town running, Charlotte area, running all sorts of next to nothing stuff. I remember one time we worked a guy on 2 meters, 220, and 432 who had handhelds in the Charlotte airport. So we've talked to somebody on handheld in a kayak on Lake Norman. So do try to give us contacts. And the result of that can be occasionally, this is the plaque we got for winning the whole thing in 2001. It takes lots of people giving us contacts, and it also takes some good propagation for us to be able to win from the South, but we do it occasionally. And so we greatly appreciate those contacts. But my presentation tonight is actually about this club, W4BFB, because that's where I got my start. And so we're kind of going back in time, because when we get together on these contests, we tell stories about contests long ago. And the story that I'm always ultimately telling is the September contest from 1979 with W4BFB. So here we go. In fact, the
I have 5, Paul.
this contest, not just for W4BFB, but for folks all over the eastern United States, people still talk about what was going on. But okay, this is me, 1979. Look a little different. We're in a tent up on Roan Mountain, and I was generally running the 432 and 220 bands up there. And I'm going to bring in some of the other groups that were on to kind of show a little bit of flavor for what else was going on. But this was, we would go over to one of the club members' house. Bob Reed had a bunch of stuff in his barn. A few of you may remember that, trailers and generators, and grab all that. I was at college up at Duke, so I was getting in my car from out of the dorm, getting in my car, going to meet everybody up on Roan Mountain. At the same time, I knew a guy who was at NC State, and their radio club basically was a handful of college students were getting in one of them Dad's camper pickups and going up to White Top Mountain, Virginia. And then there were three grad students, well, 2 grad students, a professor, W9IP. Now this is a crazy thing. They were in a 120-foot wooden tower sitting out in the middle of a cornfield in Illinois,
Wow.
southern Illinois. But the craziest of all was this guy, Wayne, N6NB, who actually, some of you may know, he wrote the article Design the Quaggy Antenna, if you've ever seen that. He actually lived in California and drove this crazy thing to up to Vermont because he realized he couldn't win the contest from California. So here he is with this crazy antennas and radios in a van. So people do some crazy things for ham radio, and so I imagine all kinds of different aspects of ham radio have their extremes, and so do the folks doing VHF contests. So anyway, he's getting to Vermont, pulling in the state park there, and then he has to begin setting up all these antennas, which once again, I mean, we had a job with, I think we had about 20 people up on Roan Mountain out of the club, but for one guy to put all this stuff up is kind of amazing to me. So that's what he wound up with.
Wow.
It looks sort of like it. Some sort of radar of some sort, certainly. So, he's up there with all that commercial stuff. But anyway, he's got 2 towers. Back on Roan Mountain, we're putting stuff up, and a few of the old-timers in this club may recognize the cowboy hat there and know about Wilton McAllister, because you saw that cowboy hat, you knew that's who that was. So he was always big with the 6 meters, and there he is helping put the 6-meter antenna up. And this is what we got up all together, 3 different tents and various antennas. I'll go to one of the things and point them out to you. This is the 432 with the 222 vertical on top of it, which is this is where I would spend most of my time, in this tent right here. This is 2 meter 11 element Cushcraft, pair of them verticals, a vertical antenna, 2 meter sideband beam, and a 6 meter beam. So, you know, I don't know how Wayne got all that stuff up by himself. I noticed he had crank up towers and everything else, but you know, back in the day with VFB, it was just raw people. You put 15 people trying to get one of these towers up, and it goes along pretty well. But that's what it took to get them up and take them down, was just a big crowd. Is there anybody here who was involved in any of that back in the day? I'm just curious. Okay. Okay, well, so anyway, this is me on the 432 220. Now, what became obvious real quick was that something was up, that this was not any ordinary contest. Contest started.